So what is your podcast?
Basically, it's an interview style podcast. I'm helping business owners tell their stories. That's what I do as a copywriter and editor. What I'm doing is I'm interviewing people about their origin stories because I have so much fun as a copywriter doing copy briefs on
Mm.
the phone and learning about people's businesses it's like taking a mini masterclass every time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
that
so much
isn't
fun, and I'm like, "This could be something that could benefit people," and then people could talk about their businesses, and people could find out about their businesses, so I'm sure people wanna talk to me, so I don't
Oh,
know. I
yeah.
just thought it might be a fun thing to do, so
What's the name of it?
yeah. I'm calling it business breakthroughs,
Oh, okay, I
so
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
Okay, I remember that now. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So
awesome. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started.
Thanks for having me here, Sarah, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Those that are live and those that aren't. But I'll give you a little background on myself. Is I used to run 3 podcast listening platforms. So when you're running a listening platform, you're really just helping podcasters go, okay, how do I answer the 3 questions? How do I grow my audience? How do I get more distribution? And how do I monetize? 3 questions that I hate because it keeps you very much focused as a podcaster into a box. And every Monday, I post 3 podcasts I think people should listen to. I happen to have done a show called DTC Pod. This was December of 2022. This also goes to the value of you just keep putting out consistent content. You consistently put your brand out there, your message out there. You have no clue who's going to see it. So months later, I got hit up by the host of that show as they built a tool, Castmagic. That's an AI tool that allows you now to take any audio and video recording, any conversation, and repurpose it. And that really goes towards the 3 questions that podcasters are looking at. How do I monetize? Let's stop thinking about downloads. There's so many other ways you can monetize. And so let's go ahead and bring you into my screen here. Share screen, window. All right, you gotta bring it up. There we go. Thanks, Sarah. This is Castmagic. Castmagic is going to allow you to take really dense conversations. If you think about it, an audio video file, it's a dense piece of content and figure out ways that you can turn it into a transcript and then build out additional assets from it. So I always like to start here. You take your asset, whether it's a YouTube file, a Vimeo, a reel, a TikTok, or as I've done in this case, I've taken Sarah's actual RSS feed. And I'm like, great, I can bring in her episodes. So it doesn't actually have to be my content. So Diane, I love that you're like, your show is a masterclass. You're like, great. How do I take these conversations and then leverage a tool like Castmagic, as I'll show you, to ultimately turn all of those different pieces of your conversation into a transcript? Turn that into all these pieces that you know you're going to need: titles, keywords, a speaker bio, give you the timestamps. Let's actually expand it so you can see it. Titles, keywords, all these components. And then you're like, great, I want to extract more information. He said, the guest said something interesting, or I want to turn this into a quiz, or I want to turn this into some other nugget. Great. You've got the ability to use this chat function and start asking questions and saving that. And you can turn it into visual assets. So I can go ahead and actually let's just do this as an example. Try this again. Come to studio, quote card. And now I can turn this into, oops, going too fast. Apologize. I keep hitting the wrong keys. Yep. I keep doing this way too fast. Down and turn it into a quote card. All right. This isn't working at the moment. Don't you love doing live demos? So let's start here. You've got the ability to create multiple spaces with knowing what your content is going to be. So in Sarah's case, or yours, Diane, it's great. You're in the podcasting space. I already know you're going to need all of these pieces out of the box. But we also realize that people aren't just podcasters. You are a business. You're having meetings. You're doing customer discovery calls. You're creating courses, and you need who wants to create a worksheet. Meetings, like, have you ever been in a meeting and someone said something and you're listening and they're like, oh, I just said something really smart. What did I say? And then it's the deer in the headlight look. You're like, I know what you said. I just can't repeat it back. You know what you said, but you can't repeat it back. Now you can start recording all those conversations. You don't have to worry about that deer in the headlight look. And you're like, great. Now it's going to give me action items. It's going to give me the actual highlights of what we talked about. I can start extracting all that information. You have multiple spaces here. So I've got one for Greg's podcast. I'll show you is basically other people's podcasts. And I bring that in for inspiration. That allows me to create content that allows me to post on LinkedIn and newsletters and so forth. I do my coaching calls. I had one today. And so we'll bring in our coaching call, record it over Zoom. I'll show you great things I've been doing with that. The other way you're able to bring in content is we have an iOS app. You're not going to find it in the App Store. Currently, it is in beta. We're hoping Apple lets us in soon. But if you're a user, you'll be able to get access to this. And we all have thoughts, whether you're walking the dog, whether you're driving the car, there's so many things that you've got in your brain that you're like, I would love to record this. Or you go to a conference next week. I'll date this, but like podcast movement's coming up. I will literally take my phone out and I'll start recording conversations. And all those conversations will be uploaded into my Castmagic account. And instead of me going back to my hotel room at night going, what did I learn today? And trying to think about it and being exhausted and then have to do this again tomorrow, like all that content will already be built for me. And all I have to do is then post it, in a sense, edit it first because it's AI. I have a space for me as a guest in other people's shows because I want content written for me in that way, which is great if you've got clients that are doing guesting or you guest in other people's shows, you have a different space. So you've got the ability to have all these components. So let's actually look like what this looks like. Here's a podcast. I label my speakers and then I'm able to actually, if I want it, I can listen to it, I can edit it, or I can turn this, what is this? A minute 15 to minutes. What is that? Try that again. Yeah. This piece, if I want it, I can clip this and it's going to download it as an MP3 or if it's a video file, download it as an MP4 to my computer. So I can start slicing and splicing and slicing components of my recording, or I can hit the studio button and it's going to either turn into an audiogram or a quote card. So I can start taking visual assets for this. And then out of the box, as I was saying, we know as a podcaster, you're going to need to create titles. No one wants to think about titles or you have a certain format of the title you want. Like in this case, I know I want it to end with the guest name. Terrible example. Never have your guest really in there unless it's at the end because most people are tuning in for what the content is. And they create the keywords for you, your speaker bio. We only are working off the audio that you're working with. Introduction, timestamps. Everyone needs these. There's your YouTube chapters, your Spotify chapters. I know people that are using these as social promotions. They're like, hey, tune into this episode and this is their LinkedIn post and they're pasting some of these components into it. Organizing topics and bullet points. We pull out quotes for you. In this case, a page per speaker, usually about 10 because it's a 40-minute episode. So I already know a hook, a quote, and who said it and the timestamp that I can go ahead and do it. But I can take this quote, click the studio button, turn it into a quote card. Now I've got a quote card literally based on that quote that Scott said here. Create a little image for it. Let's say that's the image I want it. AIN generate image. Bam. Now I've got assets here ready to go for whatever social promotion I want, or as a blog image because you know you need those components. Literally just based on all these little components. Now we get to the social promotion. No one likes doing that. This is going to take, once again, you're recording and create the social promotion. So a reel script, a LinkedIn post, a newsletter, tweet thread, and threads by Instagram. And then my favorite questions. I love this. Let's say I'm going on Sarah's podcast. Sarah could go ahead and she probably goes to ChatGPT and go, Greg's talks about X, Y, and Z. Give me a list of questions I can ask Greg on my show. Or she could take a existing recording, whether it's an interview, podcast, or some audio video of myself, bring it into Castmagic, and it's now going to give you all these great questions that are relevant directly to what I've already said. And now you've got these questions that she can go ahead and ask. You can use these as discussion questions. So if you have a community, if you manage a community, if you're part of a community, or you're just in social channels that you want to engage with people in those communities, these become great thought leadership questions like, hey, audience, how would you answer these? Or I'm really curious on your thoughts on this. I know people that are using mid rolls, taking these questions, are like, hey, I posted a question in my Instagram. Would love for you to go and answer that. That's their mid roll, and this is the question they're giving you. So out of the box, this is all the stuff that you've got. Out of the box, we already know what you're working with. Between this and Descript, you actually bring up a great thing. Descript is a great complementary tool. And if you actually are using Descript, you already have done all the Descript text translations. You've got your transcript already perfect there. Great. You can use this where it says import URL. As long as it's a public Descript file, you can go ahead and import that in there. And that way your transcript will match exactly what your Descript one is. And now you can start getting all these great assets that you've got. And so everything I just showed you is out of the box. But what makes Castmagic really unique is the ability to create custom prompts and really expand upon what you want. If we look at here, and I'll scroll, they all say save prompts. You can see I've got 13 out of the box that Castmagic gave me, and then all these other ones that I've automated and going, oh my God, I would love to do this and this. So here's an example. Show notes. What are show notes? Everyone in the podcast space does show notes differently. So I came up with a prompt here and I'm like, I want my show notes to be this. And I did that by going to our next section here called Magic Chat. So Magic Chat now allows me, think about ChatGPT-esque. There's some functions that aren't completely ChatGPT, but gives you the ability now to start asking it. So in this case, I'm like, write a 3-episode summary. Try that again. Write a 3-paragraph episode summary. The first paragraph begin with a thought-provoking question directed to the audience, who in my case works in sales and partnerships. Then include a quick summary of the guest in the second paragraph and provide a high-level summary of the third. That's what I would want as my show notes. And so I did that. And then you can see here, it says save the show notes. So that's why you're seeing it here. So every recording in this space now will come up with that prompt. So if we go to episode 1, I was just on episode 115. When we look at Magic Chat, I've never used it. But if we go to the AI content tab, we can now see there's my show notes. So every time I run a piece of content, I'm automating more. Yes, I will do this, but they integrate so many other things. Exactly. We've got a lot of people that were using Otter and they've now come over here because it does so much more. And then you add in the iOS component. You're like, hold on, I can extract. We haven't even dug into this. So let's start looking at some other things that we've got here. That's the showing you there, the Magic Chat component. But let's get into some more fun. So some of the cool prompts that I've leveraged, let's expand these all. Let's jump down to show notes. One prompt that I love is course creation. Literally turn every recording into a course. Go back to your example, Diane, about every conversation with a business owner and their origin story as a master class. Yeah, everyone is like a course. Here I literally have a prompt that says turn every recording into a framework of a course. If we want to go look at what that prompt is, create a 3-module course with 3 lessons in each course based on the podcast. Include 3 suggestions for a course name, an intro and conclusion, include a 3-question multiple choice quiz with answers, and a 10-point checklist. Include 3 social media posts to promote this course. Don't mention the podcast. Bam. Every recording, I've got the framework there. This is all editable, right? So it's AI. Keep in mind, we're trying to give you 50 pieces of content that you can edit as opposed to writing 50 pieces of content, because most of us are like, I don't have the time to do this. If I'm doing the pre-production for a podcast, recording the podcast, then post-production of the podcast, you're saying, I got to do what? This then helps you on all of those components. I've now got this prompt. Newsletter. You want a newsletter? We give you one. I've also got another prompt. You can go ahead and create your own pieces. This is where we start getting into the fun stuff. So these people, Vera, Shahab, Tom, Jeremy, and Joe are great podcasters. Love them. Follow them on Instagram. I loved what he wrote. I'm like, this isn't a piece of content. I want my content to look like his content, but in my words, based on my recording. So I copied and used a content sample, and I copied what Jeremy, sorry, copied a post that I saw Jeremy did, which is this. And then I just reverse engineered the prompt. So I'll read it to you. If you can imagine you could sit down with 15 podcasters who had all doubled their audience in the past year. What's the first question you'd ask? Chances are it'd be somewhere along the lines of, so what exactly did you do? Blah, 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 goes on and on. So I literally imagine you could sit down with an expert in a particular field. Don't mention names. What's the first question you'd ask? Chances are, blah, 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 header. If you have anything like me, you want to know 5 questions. And now I literally get his piece of content, like the way he wrote it, my recording. So it's about this show that I've uploaded here, matching his style. Great. Copy it, or I can use Zapier and zap this off to whatever host, LinkedIn promotion prompt, LinkedIn platform to actually do it. So I've now created 5 different LinkedIn posts and then all these other YouTubes, like you name it, I've created content and for days, all just based on that one piece of content. So the next thing, so that is all just recording by recording. Well, Greg, I've been here. Let's take Sarah. Sarah's been doing this for how many years, right? You've got almost 250 episodes. So across her episodes, across her catalog, there's nuggets that I would love to, you know what? I've talked to 5 females that are all in the, mm, I don't know, beauty space. I would love to write content around the beauty space and what I've learned from building a business in the beauty space. Amazing. So we use a feature called Pages. Pages allows me to take up to 5 recordings in a space and then generate either a long article from it. Imagine like a Medium article, or anything else that I want. So in this case, I've taken 5 recordings. This is me as a guest on other people's shows. And I'm like, you're a professional writer. Only focus on what Greg has said and write an article about podcasting. Now I literally have this entire long 2,000, 3,000 word article aggregating what I have said on other pieces of people's podcasts. Here is one where I took 4 recordings and create a study guide for podcast coaching. There we go. Now I've got this long and it's all editable. I've taken, in this case, I took my coaching calls and I built the framework for a course. I took 5 coaching calls. I'm like, you're a course creator. And here's the framework of a course. And what I did is, full disclosure, I did that prompt, varied it 4 different ways. So these 4 different ways, stitched it together, gave me great ideas, went to Canva, built that in Canva, delivered that, no different than what I'm doing here, took that recording, created the space, course, and webinar, and gave me all these things. So here we go. Here is the recording. And now out of the box, I got a summary, I got session themes, 5 conceptual takeaways about what that was, timestamps, pulled out quotes, created a worksheet, created a quiz, created a social post, a lesson memo, and a lead magnet, all based on, once again, going meta. How do I take a recording, or in Diane, in your place, like how do I then take all these great conversations you're about to have with these business owners and create an article, create something from it? So other things I have done, and there's so many other ways you can do this, but just giving you guys ideas, is I want more clients. So I took 5 coaching calls and I'm like, write me an email sequence to get more clients. Or I took 5 coaching calls and I'm like, write me an article. And there we go. We've got this long article. My words, what I've said, just aggregated in a way that I would never be able to sit here and type this all out and figure out what did I say across these 5 recordings or these 5 coaching calls. And as you can see, I use Grammarly. It is fully editable. I can go ahead and make any changes I want to this and then paste it, share it, whatever I want to do with that. You've got that. And then I also love this one, iOS recordings. Can't talk about this enough because we all have ideas. We are walking, we're driving, we're at a conference. I literally had a thought. I listened to a podcast and I loved the way this guest ended their sign off with the podcast. Sarah, hopefully I'm smart enough to remember to implement this when we talk, but recorded a thought for a minute and 19 seconds. Turn that thought into titles, keywords, questions. You want to get meta? I can now start answering these questions and record myself answering these questions. And now I've got 10 more pieces of content answering these different pieces based on this 1 minute recording I did. And you just got content for days. All right, let's record this one. Let's record this one. And now you've got all these great FAQs and content. But I've turned it into all these LinkedIn and new Twitter threads, all these other pieces of content. So I can always keep posting on LinkedIn and educating people on what I thought was a really great guest sign off and what I would love other guests to do when they leave a show. And we all know content, you have to be consistent, you have to put up volume. And just because I've heard it once doesn't mean I'm going to remember it. So you just keep putting it out there in different ways. And that's truly what this allows you to do. It works smarter, not harder, and ultimately get so many pieces of content that can help you. If we look at here, let's see here. Let's show you some examples of visuals. Studio, like I took this quote from Alicia's recording here. And she talks about how I think of AI and Castmagic as one of those features in my workflow, like a calculator. Yes, I can do it long form. I can sit there and write it out, or I can type it in, get the answer, move on to the next thing. Literally, that's what Castmagic allows her to do, right? Took that quote, put a calculator and image on it, posted that to our LinkedIn. So I'll pause here because Sarah, like I've talked for half hour. Hopefully, you got Diane and Sarah. If you guys want to come back in and any questions, anything you want me to show you, anything else that would help you, because I know you use this, Sarah. So we'll go from there.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you
Okay,
guys.
good. And you can see me?
Yep.
Yeah, I use it for my podcast episodes for like basically my show notes and then everything within my show notes, like the titles, the questions, the timestamps, the all that kind of stuff. But I haven't fully explored the platform and used it for all these other things. And I think last time we had talked, you were telling me about the phone app, which okay, after this, I'm gonna download it because I like your idea about how it like podcast movement of like just recording things and people and whatever, and then creating. Yeah, I might steal that idea.
Here's a cool thing. We're community driven, right? We've got this section here called community prompts. Not only do we build in all these out of the box, but you also have access to prompts that people have submitted that you can add. The custom newsletter example I did, I've added that one. Um, we've got a Slack community of over 13, no, now it's 1,400 people. So people are sharing prompts, they're sharing examples of how they're doing this. So a good example of the iOS app is I took that, someone shared, and so we've got this quick start guide and, and use case video. This guy, where was it? He went to a conference. Paul went to a conference. He set up a space and I got to go and talk to every booth. So think about this next week, Sarah. Like when we're going to podcast movement and I want to talk to every booth that's in the galley and go, tell me about your business. What do you guys do? He literally did that. He's, hey, tell me about your business, recorded the conversation. But on the back end, he had already set up questions and prompts. So he already knew what he would want to write. He was a digital publisher. So he's like, I know if I'm talking to this company, I want to know the pros and cons. So we already had a prompt saying, give me the three pros and three cons of this business based on this recording. And then he's write me a blog post that would talk about this business. And he did whatever prompts he had. It's like all he had to do is just record it. Prompts were already built for him. He went home at night, probably in his drunken state, because we all know how conferences go. And all he had to do was label the speaker of each person. Now he had 50 pieces of content because 50 conversations he had, and he had content for days. Instead of taking him weeks to write up all these reviews, it's all done. He was able to get his digital publishing done right away because of that. I love that as a use case, but there's so many other use cases here that I just keep sharing based on what others are telling me.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, like, for my podcast in particular, Frugalpreneur, I've been thinking about creating, like, short episodes that talk about a specific, like, software or whatever, but my plan was, and I'm sure I'll still do this for some, record that myself, like a 5-minute kinda overview. But if I'm at a conference, for example, and I could just go up to the booth of a particular, I don't know, software or something,
Yeah.
and be like, "Hey," and just record on the spot and yeah, and then have all that content ready to go.
Imagine like you're at a conference, you're like, all right, I bump into someone and go, hey, can I just record this conversation so that I've got my notes? Like, no different than you and I doing a Zoom call and it's, hey, I just want to talk to you or I just met you or whatever it may be. It's, can I just record this so that I remember? Because I'm not going to remember most of what we talked about because you're going to talk to many people and there's so many things. So we just record this and most people are going to go, sure, because it's not like you're saying anything sus. Or you're like, I'm not using this like blasphemy. I don't know. You're like, yeah. So now I've got like the notes already there. I'm like, oh, this is what we talked about or this is what we did. So there's so many different use cases. I love this podcast one. These are other people's episodes. So I just use this as inspiration. I'm like, all right, let me go find other business related shows that I would go and make that my LinkedIn post. That becomes my content for days. Or I did this. This was a fun one. I went
That should be
to
y'all's slogan, Castmagic, content for days.
Nook. It's turn every conversation to content like magic.
Uh-huh.
That's a slogan. But here I went to a conference. No, I went to an event. Took my phone out. It was a 3 panelists and 2 hosts. So literally took my phone out, put it on my knee, and just let my phone record the conversation. And when I got home at night, I labeled the speakers and using one of our settings, I now, without even knowing, I got the lessons learned and the action items and questions. I'm like, all right, who said what or who's who? What do they talk about? When do they talk about it? Here are good quotes and what would I walk away learning and what do I have to go ahead and do? I'm like, done, bam. So working with like podcast movement, going like, how do we get all of your content that you're speaking on, all the panelists into Cast Magic so that everyone that attends, because we all are going to miss. Maybe I miss your panel because I'm off speaking to someone else. So there's 2 other panels going on. I don't have the time to give you 4 days in a conference and then how many more days and hours to go watch it. Great. I can just throw all that into Cast Magic and get all this content that I'm able to repurpose, but also make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So, I feel like the platform can do pretty much everything. The only thing I'm wondering, do you think that y'all will ever have the capability of bring in a video, whether it's through a YouTube video or upload a video and then create, like, videograms? Like, little
That
short.
is coming in a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
So hold on, I just lost you. So if we go back, transcript, let's just, oops, choose that. Let's again, studio. So right now I've got a quote card and I've got audiogram. The next section, the next card will, in a sense, will be a video with text overlay. So right now I've got that,
Mhm.
but imagine then, oops, being able to do this as, like you said, video with an image overlay.
Mhm.
Sorry, with a text overlay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. So not like an actual, like, literal video of people like this, if I wanted to take a clip of this video and create, like, a little short,
Yes.
but just the script part of it, not, like, the video part of it. Is that
Say
what
that
you're
again.
saying?
Imagine this was actual video, and I wanted to turn this into a video with text overlay, like a clip with the
Okay.
text on it.
Okay, yeah. So I guess you probably don't have, like, a demo site of the
Oh,
no,
that's
no.
not live yet, so yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to that because then that will help me eliminate yet another software.
Yeah.
Uh,
This all studio is a couple weeks old. So what keeps getting updated and released on it is only going to improve. And then just the nuances of certain functions within it are just getting improved. We're excited about this because, yeah, it opens it up. So now I can start creating more visual assets while directly with inside one tool.
yeah, I love that. I'm all about even if you don't even take the money factor into account because 'cause I'm a frugalpreneur, so I love combining having an all-in-one kind of place to go for money saving purposes. Also, even maybe more important is just not having to juggle a million different platforms or software programs to get all your stuff, so, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so it'll just expand. Let's see here. This one I love. So I took a customer who had questions. I'm like, you know what? Let me record this. And I ran through a customer discovery and it literally told me her pain points, problems to solve, current process, her needs, product considerations, buying. So when you think about conversations you have with just people in general of like, what are the problems? What are their pain points? This is going to create all those for you.
Yeah, wow. So, are there aside from the video component, are there other things in the works? I can't think of anything else that you would even need, but who knows?
Yes. If you think about it, being able to search. So if I've got all my assets. This is literally my catalog, my media library of all the assets I've done, and you can see where they are. Right now, I can only work within pages on 5 recordings. But the ultimate goal would be able to how do I pull content from any of the workspaces I've got and create content around that? So coming up with more ways to leverage what's in your workspace, what's in your account so that you can create new pieces. Let's say I'm blanking, so I apologize. But maybe you do rapid questions at the end of your podcast. You're like, I want to aggregate all the answers for these rapid questions into a study guide, a learning guide, a book, whatever the case may be. Right now, you can only do it across 5. So you would have to do that 5, 5, 5, 5. What if we could go ahead and figure out how do we do that across your whole catalog and pull that out? So that will only happen as technology improves. That's just a AI and LMM kind of thing. But yeah, those are different pieces. That is the technology gets better. We'll be able to do so much more.
Yeah, could y'all even pull in reviews, like podcast reviews from several different sources and
The We're not pulling anything text based. Anything right
Mhm.
now is just audio video. The other component to your question of what else we're working on is yeah, how do we bring in all pieces of content? So if you have an article you've written, or you're reading an article and you're like, I would love to use this article as a piece of content that I can repurpose along with whatever else. Right now, it's all just got to be audio video. So you can either record yourself reading that article or use a third party app to take that article and convert it into a voice that you can bring it into here. But yeah, use it as
Mm.
inspiration, use it for connection. I love this example. I don't know if it's relevant for any of yours, but this was a podcast with Alex and his 2 sons. And it's all talking about the role of the BDR because BDR is business development rep. They're in the sales world. And so if I was another person in the BDR world, I could take this recording of theirs and then put it into Castmagic and go, I want to be known as a BDR thought leader. So I'm going to take other people's content, bring it in here, have it create components and content for me, add my own 2 cents because this is fully editable. And now I can start posting on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever it is going, oh, Greg is a thought leader in the BDR space, or he's thinking about things like there's all those components that you're able to now start putting out content besides if you're struggling with your own. But your whole audience, they're all in the podcast space. So you guys should have content for days and no excuse. And speaking of content for days and being a guest, you can automate this, which I really recommend people doing, is automating the guest content. So I can come in here, come up with magic chats and go, write me a blog, write me a newsletter, write me a social promotion for my guest. automate that. And so then every guest that comes on your show, use this button, the shared button, and you're like, hey, Greg, thanks for coming on the Frugalpreneur show. You want to listen to it? Here is the ability to listen. Here's the text. But really, the key thing is the AI content tab. I've created all this content based on this recording for you already. If you don't like what I've already created for you, no worries. Here's Magic Chat that I've enabled. Ask it. You know what? You understand prompting. You understand how to write things better. Perfect. It's still just based on this recording. You can do it. That becomes a huge lift because as guest, I spent an hour on your show. I got my normal job. You want me to post. Posting helps you, but it also should help me, but I don't got the time to come up with that. You can use the Castmagic to automate that and go, I know you don't got time. I try to help you out. And if you're not a fan of what was given, great. Here's Magic Chat. You can start automating it yourself. Unbelievable use case. And by the way, everyone that's probably a guest on your show should be using Castmagic themselves. So the sign up button becomes your affiliate link. And so when they click on that and they sign up, that gets attributed to you as the guest or as the host.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is awesome because I do think that getting a guest to share out the episode is a whole challenge in and of itself. So if you can almost give them like an incentive, like, here's all the stuff I came up with to make it a one click or a copy
Yeah.
paste type
Yeah.
situation. That brings me to another question. Do you think you would ever have the feature where you can connect your social media accounts to share whatever directly to social?
So right now we use Zapier because
Okay.
there's so many platforms out there. We've just gone, hey, you want to zap this piece of content to MailChimp or Kajabi or LinkedIn or Twitter, whatever it may be. Go ahead and zap it. The limitations and the engineering on each of those tools just becomes, I'm not an engineer, but became too much of a hassle to think about. So we just went with a Zapier integration, which basically gets you your content in most places that you would need it to go to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't think I have any more questions at the moment. Do
How
you have
about you,
any?
Diane? Anything on your side? And hopefully, I put in for those that are watching and listening and watch this replay because of your community and because I'm so grateful to be part of it. I've got a link in there and a promo code. So if you use that link and use that promo code AmpMyPod100, you get a month free of our hobby plan, and which goes to how does pricing work? And that is probably something worth talking about. So it's all based on minutes. You can invite people to your spaces. You can create unlimited spaces, go to prompts. Everything I've been showing you is all included. The only thing that's using any kind of is minutes. The fact that I uploaded while we were talking here, I uploaded, where was it? Is this it, right? No, tis the 21st. Here we go. Crowdfunding. I literally uploaded your recording here. I'm guessing we got two speakers. So one's you and one's who's this?
Yeah, actually, that episode. So some of my episodes, like I'll do like an intro, and then it's just them kind of answering some questions.
Okay, but so this is still you.
But
We
yeah,
got
that one would be, yeah.
Sarah saying you're the host. I'm guessing this is
Yeah, the rest of it probably will be her, actually.
Carol. She's the guest. Create speaker. Amazing. We've got that. Click AI content. You can see how quick this is going to generate all of our content. And then, bam, done. We got content for days here. And then I could automate and go, all right, Carol, thanks for being on the show. Here's content I created for you. Here's your share link with the content and everything else that you would need.
Yeah, I might actually go back through and do that. Email the different guests and be like, because I always notify my guests that their episode is live, but I just give them the link on my website to listen or share or whatever. But I could go
Which
ahead
no
and
one's doing it because they're like,
yeah.
hold on, that's too much work for me. I don't got the time
Mm,
to write this. Great, let me write it for you. And if you don't like how
yeah.
the AI wrote it for you, at least I gave you a starting place.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna start including that in my email and then probably go back through past guests and even if it's months later, be like, "Hey, by the way, I have this new." I think that'd be
Yeah, and
awesome.
then since you're all about frugalpreneur and you're all about how do we make money, it's great. Here's your sign up button, and if you can convert a couple of them into it, 30% a month for 18 months, you're like, great, that's passive income by literally me helping my guests, which is helping me and my show. It's a win-win kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly. So 18 months, was that just an example, or do you mean like it
No.
y
So if let's say Diane signed up today under your affiliate link, you would be getting for 18 months if she was a continued customer, you'd be
oh,
getting
okay.
30% for 18 months.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that worked. Yeah,
Look,
awesome.
we're in the podcast space. It's all about how do we monetize affiliate
Yep.
revenue is a key thing. I always tell all my podcasters, I'm like, look, you're trying to get sponsors, but you use tools, and every one of those
Mhm.
tools that you use has an affiliate program. So if nothing else, your host read ad could be, hey, thanks for listening to this podcast. This is how I built it using these tools. I put my affiliate link in. So if you're looking to create a podcast, here are other tools that you should look at. So many people click on that because once you start a podcast, Diane, people will start going and turning to you and going like, how did you start a podcast? And then they'll
Mhm.
want to know. And that's, I'm sure, what people have done with you, Sarah, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that's one of the things I love is talking about, like, the different tools that I use and whatnot. Although I'm using fewer and fewer tools now that I have Castmagic.
True story.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on or cover that we hadn't?
The last thing is it's community driven. So we've got the community prompts that I talked about. We've got an onboarding. What we've gone through high level here is just showing you about what Cast Magic is and some of the power behind it. The onboarding, I will literally walk you through step by step on how to use it, right? What to do, what button does what. We also have this quick start guide. So you've got access to basically, if you don't want to talk to me and see me again, you're like, Greg, I can't stand your voice. Great. We've got all the assets turned into their Slack community. Like I said, 1,400 people. Like my ethos is about life, is about time relationships. You come in, I want to connect you. You have questions, you're trying to figure out prompts, or you're like, I need guests. This is my show. Like, I know so many people in our community that have found each other and started their own podcast shows because they're like, oh, we align, or we're already talking about things. So they started a podcast based on it. So there's so many things. And then, like I said, the affiliate side, 18 months. I can't stress that enough because it's great passive income.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And
Likewise.
so I'll be posting this video. Hopefully I can get it up today, but I'll include that link that you actually I should probably like copy and paste that before I
Yeah, the link
well,
and the promo code, which is helpful, Diane. I know you got it in the background, but hopefully this was, helpful. I'll take silence as a yes. There we go.
yeah. Let's see. Let me also copy the promo code so I don't okay. Awesome.
Let's see here. What kind of content did we get? Crowdfunding. Let's see here. We wanna jump. Let's see what Joe would have given us, or Jeremy. Alright, what do we say? Ever tried to ever tried your hand at crowdfunding or pondered the intricacies of building strategic partnerships? In a recent podcast, Carol Catman from Sunny Design delves into her journey from crowdfunding and sustainable line of design furniture for cats to become a fractional CMO. Build strategic partnerships, crowdfunding success, bootstrap business journey. Amazing. All right. I got an idea of what she's doing just based on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is that what you were talking about with the I guess someone closing out their podcast and that you liked how they closed it, I
Oh,
guess?
no. Let's see here. What was that? iOS. So listen to the person, and he not only thanked you, the host, but he's, in a sense, he self-deprecated, which I enjoyed. But he's grateful for all of you giving me your attention because I know attention's Your time is valuable. So I really appreciate all of you that tuned in to listen to me babble about. Hopefully you learned something of value on this, but I really just appreciate Sarah giving me this platform to have this and all of you turning in to listen. And really, once again, breaking that fourth wall and tuning into the audience. I really like that. Once again, I'm all about breaking the fourth wall as a habit that podcasters should do.
Yeah, that is good. Okay. I might have to, when I'm a guest on shows, take that into account.
But yeah, instead of me being a fly in the wall going, oh, I love this conversation, but I wish I was there, breaking the fourth wall now allows me to go, hold on, everyone pause. What Sarah just said was like mic drop moment. Like, let's decompress on that. And all right, now me as a listener, I get to actually go and sit back and go like, you're right. Like that was, I can ponder it just like you're pondering it instead of let's just keep going. Let's just keep going.
Awesome. I appreciate your time today, and I
Likewise,
will.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be good to meet in person.
100%. Safe travels. Thank you again to the whole AMP team here. And you know where to find me. We'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye, you guys.
Bye bye.